There are so many aspects of being an intelligence officer that I loved. The fact that I could do this knowing that being in a large city like Toronto or being in a small suburb of some other town, it's safer because of the work that I did. I am Neil Bisson. I'm a retired intelligence officer with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and I'm currently the director of the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network.
How does working in a denied environment differ from operating in Canada?
Well, we always feel safer in our own backyards, right? Like when you're in your own neighborhood, when you're in your own backyard, you know what threats there might be or things you need to be concerned about. When you work in a denied operating environment, you might not necessarily have a grasp of all of the potential pitfalls that you could come across. And that could be anything from area familiarization, not knowing that, just across the street is a masjid or a mosque that has individuals that are very anti-Western culture. And, you might be in the middle of an operation. You might be working in an area where if the host intelligence service found out that you were doing what you were doing, it could put you at jeopardy. And we're talking about imprisonment. We're talking about the government of Canada being slammed for operations that have been discovered. We're talking about diplomatic fallout. So the stakes are high. And these are one of the reasons why you have to make sure that when you're working in a denied or dangerous operating environment, you are as switched on as possible to do the best job you can.
How do you manage that stress? How do you deal with the stress of this kind of job?
You make sure that every opportunity that you get for training and experience, you take to the utmost. And you have an abundance of caution in everything that you do. You put your safety first, you put your safety of your team, and then you put the safety of the person that's providing you this information. And if you keep those in mind when you're working in dangerous or denied operating environments, you're gonna more than likely be safe. A lot of times when intelligence officers work abroad and they're collecting information from sources, they're doing surveillance detection runs, which basically means that you're trying to identify if someone's following you or someone's following your source. There have been times in the past where in the middle of an operation, something has come up to lead me to believe or to lead others in my team to believe that we are being followed or something has gone wrong. And that's when you have to do a hard look at yourself in a very short period of time and determine what goes next. And when you look at your own safety, the safety of your team, and the safety of the source as the priorities, 9 times out of 10, unless there is no other way for you to get this information and it is critical, then you have to have a fallback. And that's why every good operational plan has contingencies upon contingencies upon contingencies, because there are times when you will not be able to trust technology because it's failed you. There will be times where you think you will be able to go a route and you can't because something has happened. There will be times when you hope or think that the source that you've met dozens of times before will be at the same place that you've asked them to be, and for some reason, something goes horribly wrong. So this is one of those times when you have to ask yourself, okay, what happens next?
Do you ever worry about putting your source in a situation? I know you're obviously concerned about your source's safety, but have there ever been situations where you had to decide whether it was worth the risk? Like, maybe you're asking the source to do something and you're kind of on the fence, like the source is willing to do it. How do you make that decision?
Well, there are 3 main things that you look at for a source. It's their suitability, their motivation, and their access. So under suitability, you would ask yourself, okay, this source says that they're in a position that they can infiltrate a group of highly dangerous targets and can get information about where they're going to be next, which is incredibly important to Canadian lives because we're under the impression that a terrorist attack is going to happen against Canadians abroad or in Canada. So you have to weigh all of that out. If you feel that source is suitable, then you may ask them to move forward. But If you're good at your job, you're going to ensure that as you become aware of the source's access, you're putting them in a position where they're trained to deal with these types of situations.
What do you wish Canadians knew about the service that maybe they don't right now?
I wish that Canadians were more aware of the fact that the work that's being done by the Canadian Security Intelligence Service is happening without their knowledge for a reason. They're doing this to ensure that the safety of the sources that they meet with can continue to provide them information. And although the service puts out an annual report every year, they don't go into details about the operations that they're involved in. And there's a reason for that. So it's, as I had mentioned before, the service is filled with hardworking people that are doing an amazing job. And they're doing things that can't be shared with the public. But I wish the public would realize what they've entrusted the service to do.
Do you feel that Canadians trust the service?
I think the majority of Canadians do. I think there's always going to be an issue with transparency, as I just mentioned. The service can't come out and talk about everything that they do, because if they start identifying the methods and the sources that they use, our foreign adversaries, non-state terrorist entities will pick up on this and they will change their tactics, which will jeopardize Canada's security and the lives of Canadians.
What did you love most about doing this kind of work?
There are so many aspects of being an intelligence officer that I loved. The opportunity to work with great people, the mandate of the organization, which in the simplest forms is to protect Canada and Canadians. And the fact that I could do this and travel Canada and travel the world and know that for a very small part of what I've done, I've kept people safe. And did it not because I was looking for any sort of recognition, not because I wanted my name in the paper, but just knowing that being in a large city like Toronto or being in a small suburb of some other town, it's safer because of the work that I did.